So many amateur rugby players go into preseason with real good intentions, but end up making the exact same mistakes that keep them slow, sore, and unfit by round one. And part of that comes from a real big misunderstanding of what preseason is and what you should be doing to prepare as a rugby player anyway. And once we understand these things, we should be able to see the mistakes for what they are and put you in a position to avoid making them and instead hit the season ready to be at your best. Welcome back to the Rugby Muscle Podcast. I'm TJ, I'm the guy behind Rugby Muscle, and I really want to raise the standard of what amateur rugby strength and conditioning really is. And today we're talking about how to get the most out of your preseason. If you enjoy this episode, be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to wrap your head around is a question that maybe you've never even really thought about. Why do we even do preseason? The answer, of course, is to prepare for the season. It's as simple as that. And I'll get into what I think that preparation really should actually look like in a bit, but straight away, it might jolt something in your head, right? Most of us just think of preseason as we must do fitness. But that's usually just because that's the area where players in all sports across the board are least prepared and they're probably least doing in their off-season. I've already given my opinion as what you should be doing in your off-season, how you should be treating your condition already. So go search for other episodes if you want to find out more about that. And I know that both coaches and players are listening to this, and both groups will definitely take different things from this, if not the same overriding message. But either way, the focus is that you should be controlling what you can control. So there's going to be some things here that maybe are mistakes that you can't really do much about. That just is what it is. You still have to focus on what you can control and take the most out of it as you can. So no matter your situation, no matter your team, you can be as well prepared as you can be. And that's it. There's no use stressing about things that you can't control. This episode, of course, though, is going to be mostly from a player's perspective because that's who I work with and who, in general, has the most control over their strength and condition and their physical preparation. So let's dive in. I've got a number of mistakes that I see made during pre-season with mindset, with implementation, and I'm going to go through them one by one. The first one, maybe it's a little bit too late for this, but it's going in unprepared. Right? You can't show up week one of preseason and expect it to make you ready. If you spent your off-season doing nothing but bodybuilding sessions, you're going to be in for a shock no matter what. And I know this is rugby muscle, but rugby is not just about muscle. There's core work, there's sprint work, there's coordination and conditioning work, all to prepare you for the actual demands of the game and what you're going to encounter on the pitch during preseason. So you'll need to be sharp, you need to be mobile, you need to be robust enough to handle the change of direction, the contact, the collisions, and short, sharp games with short recovery sessions. Yes, you're not going to be doing those during preseason, but you still need to be ready for them to happen to get the most from them. And a perfect example of how you can be prepared is that you need to be accustomed to sprinting at high speeds so that you don't pull a hamstring. The best thing that you can do to avoid pulling a hamstring or calf during preseason isn't a particular lift or exercise. It's not Nordic curls or anything like that. It's to build up to max effort sprints over time. If you go straight from doing nothing but sitting around all day for weeks on end to sprinting max out, your hamstring is just not prepared for the high forces that you're going to put it through a sprint, and it will give you a good chance of causing some strain or injury. This doesn't mean that you need to be necessarily match fit at all by week one, but if you haven't sprinted, if you haven't done any conditioning work, if you haven't done any work with your trunk or your movement to prepare or your shoulders to prepare, you're going to be found out quickly. So do the prep before the prep. And again, this might be a little bit too late for you, but you can still do a lot of stuff to help influence with what you're doing now and be prepared as a general overall mindset as to what is in your control and what you should be doing. This leads me perfectly to the second mistake that I see during preseason, and that is thinking that preseason is just about fitness. It's not. Yes, you're going to run, you're going to get through a lot of work, and you're probably going to get fitter during preseason, but this is also your best opportunity to build on your rugby specific skills. And I'll call out coaches here and say that if your players are spending a long time during rugby training, not training rugby, that is quite plainly a waste. Right? And for you as players, the best thing that you can do, if this is how a lot of your preseason is just to be as prepared as possible for this. So number one, your coach doesn't have to worry about you not being fit enough and hopefully not give you as much fitness to do. And number two, so that you stay fresh and focused to improve your rugby skill set when it comes down to it. During the season, most sessions are going to be focused on things like set pieces, tactics, run-throughs, things to get you prepared for the upcoming game. You don't get to spend 20 minutes working on your fend or experimenting with a new style of passing or tackling, etc. But now, during preseason, that pressure is off. You're out of the back offload, choke tackle, or whatever that hasn't been working for you. Now is the perfect time to rep it out, to try it out during your training games, during whatever you're doing, to get a good amount of exposures to practicing those skills and being okay with making mistakes so that you can then learn and refine and keep getting the reps in with those skills. Even if you're not having to add new tools to your toolkit, it is likely that you haven't touched a rugby ball in a few months. And so get the feel back, get used to passing the ball around. Don't just get exhausted. You could have done that during the off season anyway. Work on your contact skills, work on your set piece fundamentals like your line out lifting or your jumping, the actual skill element of those set pieces, your passing, your catching, etc. So that when you come together as a team and you're working on the actual set piece work, it is more about the timing and the calls, etc. This is the foundation, and this is where you get to utilize the physicality that you're building in the gym, do with your conditioning work, and you get to express it on the pitch. But you still need to put in the skill work. Preseason should not be about fitness. Actually, that leads me on to mistake number 3, which is thinking that preseason is even enough to get you as match fit as possible. It's just not true. It's also not true that matches will get you there either. A lot of people think that they just need to play a few games and then they're going to feel at their fittest and be ready to go. What matches do is get you used to the chaos, and eventually you'll find a way to coast and survive without falling apart, and you'll be okay, but you're not going to be thriving, right? That's not the same as being fit. Being fit means that you're available for more carries, you're in a position to make more tackles, you're talking, you're leading, you're communicating, and you're reacting quicker to the game around you, and you're getting yourself into more and more positions to have more and more effective outcomes. You're not just present, you're actually contributing to your team over and over throughout the 80 minutes. If you're here tuning into Rugby Muscle, I'm guessing that you don't want to just get by come game day. You want to absolutely thrive and be at your best and do the best for your team. And to do that, you need to be what we can call rugby fit. And to be rugby fit, you really need to understand what is missing during your rugby preseason or your just rugby training sessions in general. Two main things here. Firstly, you're not going to be getting short bursts at a high enough intensity to really overload and increase your alactic power. And then number 2, you're not going to be getting enough low intensity work at a high enough volume to really increase your aerobic capacity. Let me quickly break those two things down. Firstly, alactic power comes from real short, absolute max intensity sprints for around 6 to 10 seconds with a long rest. This can be done using sled pushes, hill sprints, or my personal favorite, because a lot of my athletes have access to it, is the Airdyne bikes, the Rogue bikes. Those bikes can really be utilized to push out an absolute max intensity, balls out for 6 to 8 seconds, and then complete rest. You can build from 6 reps to start with to 15 reps at the end of a training cycle where you're resting for around a minute, sometimes a little bit more, but you're going for your absolute max intensity. You're trying to hold that high intensity and even build it through the weeks. That intensity is just not touched during rugby training, but it is going to benefit you come the rugby pitch. Likewise, aerobic capacity is mostly going to be built through low intensity work and a decent enough volume to promote those adaptations. I've mentioned zone 2 enough. I've mentioned tempo sprints intervals enough on this channel. I've mentioned how to build this numerous times. I've even got a full zone 2 guide that I put up last week, so you're welcome to go check that out after this video. I'm not going to get into that here, but understand that you need to get a decent amount of volume to build your aerobic capacity. You're just not going to get enough volume through your rugby sessions to really create enough stimulus to really develop the aerobic system like you could do if you actually touch on it outside of your rugby. And another part to consider would be speed. Yes, you'll sprint or you'll try to sprint during your games and during rugby training, but you're never really going to get the direct focus needed to properly develop max speed or acceleration mechanics. All of this needs to be taken into your own hands and cannot be relied upon just by using your rugby sessions. It means it's upon you as an amateur rugby player to take care of your strength and conditioning yourself. And that doesn't mean just lifting weights. That means taking care of your aerobic conditioning, your alactic power, and your speed work as part of that too. And if you want a plan that is completely done for you, taking care of everything, including your strength, fitness, power, speed, rugby readiness, all put together in a schedule that fits you perfectly, that doesn't beat you to the ground, that has you present for your work and everything else, with me in your corner the whole time guiding you through the process. That's what Rugby Muscle AAA one-on-one coaching is built for. I'll drop the link for that in the description below, and for Team Rugby Muscle as well, a budget-friendly option that gives you access to the Rugby Muscle app and over 20 different programs that build you over the long term for all players, goals and schedules. And again, links for these will be in the description below. Now, mistake number 4 is going to be dropping all of your strength work. I get it that you want to stay fresh for your rugby, but it doesn't mean that you should throw strength training right out of the window to make up for it. If you've been lifting on a high volume off-season plan, sure, you can reduce the volume, and you might even need to reduce the volume, but the weights should still be relatively heavy and the sessions still need to be relatively consistent. Building muscle and strength is not a short-term thing. There shouldn't be an 8-week strength building phase or a 12-week hypertrophy phase. These things take a lot longer than that and need to be focused on year round. Strength training doesn't just mean that you look better with your shirt off, or you're building bigger numbers or muscles that you're lifting or flexing. It means that you're increasing your strength reserve for everything else that I've already mentioned. It means that your power and speed on the pitch has more potential. It means that you're going to have more ability in contact situations, and you're going to be more injury resilient because a stronger muscle is more robust. And a smart way to do this would be to waive your intensity. Just manage your intensity through the week, keeping volume fairly low, even just 1 to 2 sets of the heavy work or even of the accessory work. You can keep it as low as 1 to 2 sets and still make quality progress without pushing your fatigue too high that it affects your preseason or leaves you really knackered. Let your gym work complement your rugby, not compete with it. And then finally, mistake number 5 is thinking that preseason is a great time to lose weight. This one is quite huge. A lot of people think that this is the time to lean out because you're getting fit. Getting fit means losing weight. That's not really how it works. Doing that whilst ramping up your rugby intensity and your on-field volume is not really a good combination at all. Think about it. To lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit, but to train hard enough to make proper adaptations and recover from those adaptations or recover from that session and be ready for the next session, you need to be really well fueled. Yes, you can try to do both, but the chances are you'll do neither really well. You'll end up under-fueling, under-recovering, and then underperforming, which means that you're not going to make the adaptations that you want, and you're not going to get as fit, strong, powerful, or as good at rugby as you could possibly be. Instead, eat to fuel your performance. Get fitter, get stronger, and then when things are a little bit more stable and you're not ramping up the intensity really high, maybe then we can focus on your body comp. Maybe use this time to build up solid habits so that when it comes time to be in a calorie deficit, you've got the habits in place, you're eating really well, and now you can just cut the carbs or maybe cut the fats, whatever it is, adjusting your meals accordingly in order to lose that weight. Think which of these 2 players you'd rather be come the end of preseason. Would you rather be a fitter, more powerful and a reliable athlete at 98 kilos? Or would you rather be a lean 93, 94 guy who's still getting gassed 30 minutes into the game and isn't quite performing at the rucks as best as he possibly could? Sure, the leaner you is going to be carrying less fat, but the better fueled you is still going to be fitter to handle that extra weight anyway. So what are you trying to get fit for? And again, it can be done. You can lose weight during preseason. It just needs to be handled really well and should definitely not be the default that a lot of people seem to think it is. It's preseason, it's time to lose weight. Not the case. Okay, that is the list. Is there anything that you think should be added or anything that you disagree with? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll respond to each and every one. If you have any questions, I'm happy to make further videos from questions that I see in the comments either below on YouTube or on the Spotify comments. So remember, preseason is not a punishment phase. It's just a quality window to build. Build the skills, the adaptations, the robustness to carry you through the whole season. Get exposure to game situations without the slaughterhouse that is a game every bloody week. And if you want help doing that properly with a plan that's best suited to you, everything Rugby Muscle has to offer will be in the links below. Or if you want to keep learning, YouTube is about to recommend you another video to watch, and Spotify will give you my whole library of episodes to access, to check out whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to understand with rugby strength and conditioning. It's all there for you. Go and check them out. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. If you haven't rated or subscribed already, please do so. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.